I'm your host, Raymond Mutuku, and I'm very happy this wonderful evening just arrived right now. And, I'm blessed this evening to be here. And if you're new to this channel, subscribe and comment and tell me where you're watching me from. Ladies and gentlemen, we'll continue reading the scripture because of the interest of time. I want us to continue reading from where we were. All right? I want us to continue reading from where we were reading from. From today, we were reading from the book of Leviticus. We'll start reading the book of Leviticus, chapter 1. I hope that you will join me in this endeavor. All right? So some people are asking me why we are doing this. It is Friday, 9th of January. Somebody was asking me, why are we doing this? I said, because of the interest of time, there is no time. So we have to read while we move, on the move. If you're new to this channel, subscribe. Ladies and gentlemen, remember, we finished reading the book of Exodus, and it was a very interesting read, very, very interesting, because we learned about the journey of the children of Israel from the oppression, from the grip of Pharaoh. And we read the 10 plagues that happened to the Egyptians. And it was a very interesting read. So tonight we'll continue from where we were reading. All right? We're not going to waste any time. I wouldn't want us to waste any time, discussing things that are not really profitable to us. We'll continue reading from the book of Leviticus. So that's what we are reading from today. Any questions up to there before we start? Any questions? I want us to take notes. At least by Sunday, we should have finished reading Leviticus, because Leviticus is not a big book, just 28 chapters. We already have an idea of the book of Leviticus. It's about more laws to the children of Israel, and of course divine architecture. Those are two things that will be recurring in the book of Leviticus. Any questions up to there? If you're new to this channel, subscribe, comment, and tell me where you're watching me from. All right, so don't go anywhere. Let me go and put on some jackets so that we can move now. All right, I've just arrived right now, and I want us to start reading immediately, because I realized that if you say we are going to read tomorrow has its own issues. Tomorrow has its own plan, so do not be wasting any time. Any questions up to there? Just give me a few minutes. Let me go and take my scripture. Don't go anywhere. Just give me 1 minute. Then we start reading. All right? All right. Yes, I'm back. Don't worry, I went to take my Bible. If you're new to this channel, subscribe and comment. I say that we're not gonna waste a lot of time. We'll be on the go. Any questions up to there? If you're new to this channel, subscribe, comment, tell me where you're watching me from. Leviticus 1. The Lord called to Moses and spoke to him from the tent of meeting. He said, "Speak to the Israelites and say to them, when anyone among you brings an offering to the Lord, bring as an offering an animal from either the herd or the flock." Oof. If you're new to this channel, subscribe, comment, tell me where you're watching me from. There are 27 chapters in the book of Leviticus, so we'll be reading slowly, don't worry. If the offering is a burnt offering from the herd, you are to offer male without defect. As I said, the book of Leviticus is about the procedures that they need to take and stuff like that. You must present it at the entrance to the tent of meeting so that it will be acceptable to the Lord. You are to lay your hand on the head of the burnt offering, and it will be accepted on your behalf to make atonement for you. You are to slaughter the young bull before the Lord, and then Aaron's sons, the priests, shall bring the blood and splash it against the sides of the altar at the entrance of the tent of meeting. Any questions up to there? If you're new to this channel, subscribe, comment. I'm very happy that you have decided to join us this particular evening. Any questions up to there? If you're new to this channel, subscribe and comment. As I've said, the book of Leviticus, I know most people want us to jump from Exodus. Leviticus is not really a story about who did what, why, when, and who. It's a very slow process, so don't worry, but it's equally important to read. Are we together? You have to skin the burnt offering and cut it into pieces. The sons of Aaron the priest are to put fire on the altar and arrange wood on the fire. Then Aaron's sons, the priest, shall arrange the pieces, including the head and the fat, on the wood that is burning on the altar. You are to wash the internal organs and the legs with water, and the priest is to burn all of it on the altar. Any questions up to there? I want you to understand the importance of the book of Leviticus. It's a very important book. It's equally important. If you're new to this channel, subscribe and comment. Yes, you have to wash the internal organs and the legs with water, and the priest is to burn all of it on the altar. It's a burnt offering, a food offering, an aroma pleasing to the Lord. Any questions up to there? If you're new to this channel, subscribe, comment, tell me where you're watching me from. It will be a pleasure if you join me to read. I know it's a very, very tiresome, boring activity, but as to all the important activities, most of them are boring. You will bear with me. If you are interested in reading the scripture, Any questions up to there? Any questions up to there? Any questions? If you're new to this channel, subscribe and comment. I would be very happy to read together. Yes. Don't worry, I'm just referring to the notes that I was reading, and don't worry. If the offering is a burnt offering from the flock, from either the sheep or the goats, you have to offer a male without defect. You are to slaughter it at the north side of the altar before the Lord, and Aaron's sons, the priest, shall splash the blood against the sides of the altar. You are to cut it into pieces, and the priest shall arrange them, including the head and the fat. On the wood that is burning on the altar. You are to wash the internal organs and the legs with water, and the priest is to bring all of them and burn them at the altar. It is a burnt offering, a food offering, an aroma pleasing to the Lord. I realized that most people would rather, not read Leviticus or Deuteronomy. Those books are usually avoided, but I wouldn't want us to skip any place. I wouldn't want us to skip, because the moment we just go there, we pay the price. Trust me, we're going to finish reading. Even before you know it, we'll be already done with the book of Leviticus. Any questions up to there? You can ask me your questions. That is number one, the burnt offerings. There are many types of offerings. That is maybe the atonement of sins, the sin offering, if you have done any sin. All of them are prescribed in the book of Leviticus. So at least you'll have an idea of the kind of, there's peace offering, there's sin offering, there's fellowship offering, there are grain offerings. So many things that are described here in the book of Leviticus. All right. So if you want to understand about offering, you want to understand about atonement of sins, maybe you've done a mistake and maybe you want to give an offering in terms of a sin offering, all these are described here in the book of Leviticus. So at least maybe you have unknowingly you found yourself unknowingly. Sometimes you can do a mistake unknowingly. You can read the book of Leviticus, Deuteronomy, to learn about what you can do to salvage the situation. Because sometimes some things we think they're not, yes, it's not a crime, but maybe in the eyes of God, maybe it's a sin, of God, maybe. So also I'm a student of the scripture. I'm also willing to learn. So if you are like me, join me as we read Leviticus. When anyone brings a grain offering to the Lord, the offering is to be of the finest. You'll be told you can also take, flour to your ministry. It's allowed. You can take food. All right. They're to pour olive oil on it, put incense on it, and take it to Aaron's sons, the priests. The priest shall take a handful of the flour and oil together with all the incense and burn this as a memorial portion on the altar. Ladies and gentlemen, allow me to explain some few things to put things into perspective. All right. You see, it is only Christians who don't take atonement of sins seriously, but other people take atonement of sins seriously. It's only us who take things, who take things for granted. As Christians, we're the ones who say, "Oh, I don't have money now. Can do this later." It is a most holy part of the food offerings presented to the Lord. If you bring a grain offering baked in an oven, it is to consist of the finest flour, either thick loaves made without yeast and with olive oil mixed in, or thin loaves made without yeast and brushed with olive oil. If your grain offering is prepared on a griddle, it is to be made of the finest flour mixed with oil and without yeast. Crumble it and pour oil on it. It's a grain offering. If your grain offering is cooked in a pan, it is to be made of the finest flour and some olive oil. Bring the grain offering made of these things to the Lord, present it to the priest, who shall take it to the altar. He shall take out the memorial portion from the grain offering and burn it on the altar as a food offering, an aroma pleasing to the Lord. The rest of the grain offerings belongs to Aaron and his sons. It is a most holy part of the food offerings presented to the Lord. Every grain offering you bring to the Lord must be made without yeast, for you are not to burn any yeast or honey in a food offering presented to the Lord. You may bring them to the Lord as an offering of the first fruits, but they are not to be offered on the altar as a pleasing aroma. Any questions up to there? If you're new to this channel, subscribe, comment, tell me where you're watching me from. Season all your grain offerings with salt. Do not leave the salt of the covenant of your God out of your grain offering. Add salt to all your offerings. If you bring a grain offering of first fruits to the Lord, offer crushed heads of the new grain roasted in the fire. Put oil, incense on it. It's a grain offering. The priest shall burn the memorial portion of the crushed grain and oil together with all the incense as a food offering presented to the Lord. Any questions up to there? If you're new to this channel, subscribe and comment. If your offering is a fellowship offering, you are to offer an animal from the herd, either male or female. You are to present before the Lord an animal without defect. Alright, you are to lay your hand on the head of the offering and slaughter it at the entrance to the tent of meeting. Then Aaron's sons, the priest, shall splash the blood against the sides of the altar. From the fellowship offering, you are to bring a food offering to the Lord, the internal organs, and all the fat that is connected to them, both kidneys, with the fat on them near the loins, and the long lobe of the liver, which you will remove with the kidneys. Then Aaron's sons are to burn it on the altar on top of the burnt offering that is lying on the burning wood. It is a food offering, an aroma pleasing to the Lord. If you offer an animal from the flock as a fellowship offering to the Lord, you are to offer a male or female without defect. You are to offer a lamb. You are to present it before the Lord. Lay your hand on its head. If you are new to this channel, subscribe and comment and tell me where you're watching me from. Lay your hand on its head and slaughter it in front of the tent of meeting. Then Aaron's sons shall splash its blood against the sides of the altar. All right. From the fellowship offering, you're to bring a food offering to the Lord. It's fat, the entire fat tail cut off close to the backbone, the internal organs and all the fat that is connected to them, both kidneys with the fat on them near the loins, and the long lobe of the liver, which you will remove with the kidneys. The priest shall burn them on the altar as a food offering presented to the Lord. Any questions up to there? If you're new to this channel, subscribe and comment. Any questions? If your offering is a goat, you are to present it before the Lord. Lay your hand on its head and slaughter it in front of the tent of meeting. Then Aaron's sons will splash its blood against the sides of the altar. From what you offer, you are to present this food offering to the Lord, the internal organs and all the fat that is connected with them, both kidneys with the fat on them near the loins, and the long lobe of the liver, which you will remove with the kidneys. The priest shall burn them on the altar as a food offering, a pleasing aroma. All the fat is the Lord's. This is a lasting ordinance. If you're new to this channel, subscribe and comment. I'm very happy that you have decided to join this channel. Whatever you live, you must not eat any fat or blood. Any questions up to there? It is 2 a.m. Kenyan time. We are streaming it live because there are other people who want to be part of this program, but they're not here. They're not they're in other places. So we have to start streaming so that we may so that our time can also rhyme with their time. All right, because some people in Europe or in other countries, it's not 2 a.m. at night. All right, so we have to understand that in some places it's around 10. They're 3 hours or 4 hours behind us. So some places they are ahead of us, some places are behind us. That is why we are streaming at this time. Any questions up to there? The sin offering, we are in Leviticus 4. In the other time when we were reading the scripture, I conveniently forgot to read the book of Leviticus. That is why this time I said, we're not going to forget. I forgot. We're not going to forget. Any questions up to there? If you're new to this channel, subscribe and comment. In fact, it's always good to write something down. If I remember something, I write it at the front page, so that you don't forget. You don't forget. Every time you can forget some money. You can forget something somewhere, and you'll remember after some time. But the beauty is that I'm going to note it down. That is just take me a minute. Any questions up to there? If you're new to this channel, subscribe and comment. Any questions? If you're new to this channel, please be part of this channel and tell me where you're watching me from. Any questions up to there? Let's continue reading. The Lord said to Moses, say to the Israelites, when anyone sins unintentionally, that is the point. Sometimes people sin unintentionally. Maybe you were successful sometime and you forgot, you're supposed to make a Thanksgiving offering. You forgot. Maybe you had pledged in a church, I'm going to do this and that. And because of the anxieties of life, because of the pressures of life, sometimes people forget. And I'm not going to blame people, because sometimes people forget. I said I wanted to do this. I had pledged going to give some money in the building of a particular church. Sometimes people forget, because of the pressure. People have time. People have a lot of things to do, and because of the interest of time, the pressure, you find that people forget. And I always tell these people who serve, the men of God and the women of God, you should also remember that even in our day-to-day activities, people forget. There are many things and because I go to just say, I'd said I'll do this, but you end up forgetting. Same thing to some of these offerings. When anyone sins unintentionally and does what is forbidden in any of the Lord's commands, if the appointed priest sins, bringing guilt on to the people, he must bring to the Lord a young bull without defect as a sin offering for the sin he has committed. He is to present the bull at the entrance to the tent of meeting before the Lord. He is to lay his hand on his head and slaughter it before the Lord. Then the anointed priest shall take some of the bull's blood and carry it into the tent of the meeting. He is to do what? He is to dip his finger into the blood and sprinkle some of it 7 times before the Lord. So when you read the book of Leviticus, it is part of divine. These are rituals, because if you read Leviticus, these are I think they're just rituals that the people took at that time. Because you see, is to sprinkle some of it 7 times before the Lord in front of the curtain of the sanctuary. All right. So I said, ladies and gentlemen, if you want to understand, some of these things, I said that there's something called symbolism. You must understand symbolism, and everything that is spiritual in nature, it must have some symbolism. You can be given a ring, or you can be given a ring with very funny marks, and it's not beauty, ladies and gentlemen. Most of these people like wearing earrings. I don't wear any rings. These people who wear funny things, you're given a ring, and you're told, this ring will make you very wealthy if you wear it. It has some, it has some beauty on it. But when you look, unless you have understood symbolism, symbolism is something that is central to spiritualism. So those are 2 things that people need to understand: symbolism and divine architecture. Those are things that we're going to talk in great detail, because you can think maybe something you see, this thing looks very nice, but you don't know together. So some of these things that I've said, we're going to talk about. Number 1, divine architecture. If you read this, if you see, go and ask, when these people who build buildings, they put their own symbolism in the buildings. You think it's beauty, but it's not. It's divine architecture. Number 2, there's symbolism. Unless you understand what something symbolizes, then you would never, do not take a guess. Do you understand? Even when it comes to some of these things. Any questions up to there? Maybe you're subscribing to things that are there to imprison you, to put you in bondage, to cause chaos or sabotage your plans. So it's very wonderful to be very careful. It's always very to be careful on the kind of mostly symbolism, because you're given. Go and look. I will not lie to you. Go and check how they dress. Those people, even who worship Lucifer, whatever they wear has a design on it. It's not just something like this. No, it has design. Even the rings they wear, it's a particular design. So there's symbolism, there's architecture, and number 3, there's what? The rituals that they do, and etc. etc. Any questions up to there? And number 4, I said specifications. Everything is done with accuracy, and everything is done specifically. So that is one thing that you need to know. They're not guessing. They are very, very precise in whatever they are doing. Any questions up to there? You see here, I've told you, they've been told, sprinkle some of it 7 times before the Lord in front of the curtain of the sanctuary. The priest shall then put some of the blood on the horns of the altar of fragrance incense that is before the Lord in the tent of the meeting. Any questions up to there? Just for your information, if you do your research, and I want you not to be lazy, but do your research, most churches, even where I fellowship, January and February is usually a season of fasting and prayer. At least the first 40 days of the year, we go to a period of fasting and prayer. There's a reason why. You see, it's not by accident, or it's not by bad luck, but it is by design. All right. So I want you to understand, the meaning of altar, the meaning of offerings, the meanings of burnt offerings, grain offerings, etc. Any questions up to there? Any questions up to there? The rest of the bull's blood he shall pour out on the base of the altar, on burnt offering at the entrance of the tent of meeting. He shall remove all the fat from the bull of the sin offering, all the fat that is connected to the internal organs, both kidneys with the fat on them near the loins, and the long lobe of the liver, which he will remove, kidneys, just as the fat is removed from the ox sacrificed as a fellowship offering. Any questions up to there? Then the priest shall burn them on the altar of burnt offering, but the hide of the bull and all its flesh, as well as the head and the legs, the internal organs and the intestines, that is, all the rest of the bull, he shall take outside the to a place ceremoniously clean, where the ashes are thrown, and burn it there in a wood fire on the ash heap. Any questions up to there? If you're new to this channel, subscribe and comment. So I've said that the book of Leviticus is very, very specific. All right, there's specifications. It's not just waking up and doing stuff. No. These are regulations that have to be met all right, and something that is clean or unclean. Are we together? And it's funny, it's very funny because, you know, it's a very interesting book, and I'm going to read it. Only people quote Leviticus when they talk about, their festivals, that unacceptable sacrifices, stuff like that. Any questions up to there? If you're new to this channel, subscribe and comment. Tell me where you're watching me from. If the whole Israelite community sins unintentionally and does what is forbidden in any of the Lord's commands, even though the community is unaware of the matter, when they realize their guilt, sometimes it's unknowingly, and the sin they committed becomes known, the assembly must bring a young bull as a sin offering and present it before the tent of meeting. So here you will now see the importance of the tent of meeting and why why they were told to construct it in a particular manner. You now see the importance. The elders of the community are to lay their hands on the bull's head before the Lord, and the bull shall be slaughtered before the Lord. Then the anointed priest is to take some of the bull's blood into the tent of the meeting. He shall dip his finger into the blood and sprinkle it before the Lord 7 times in front of the curtain. Any questions up to there? If you're new to this channel, subscribe and comment. Is to put some of the blood into the horns of the altar that is before the Lord in the tent of the meeting. The rest of the blood he shall pour out at the base of the altar of the burnt offering. At the entrance of the tent of meeting he shall remove all the fat from it, burn it on the altar, and do with this bull just as he did with the bull of the sin offering. In this way the priest will make atonement for the community, and they will be forgiven. Any questions up to there? If you are new to this channel, subscribe and comment. Any questions up to there? In this way, the priest will make atonement for the community, and they will be forgiven. Then he shall take the bull outside the camp and burn it as he burned the first bull. This is the sin offering for the community. You see, maybe a community has made a sin and they are not even aware of it. That's why you see in the book of Leviticus, there's something that is very clear. They tell us maybe you have committed a mistake or a sin and you're not aware. Are we together? You are not aware of maybe some of the things that you have done. When a leader sins unintentionally and does what is forbidden in any of the commands of the Lord his God, then he realizes his guilt and the sin he has committed becomes known. He must bring as an offering a male goat without defect. He is to lay his hand on the goat's head and slaughter it at the place where the burnt offering is slaughtered before the Lord. It's a sin offering. Then the priest shall take some of the blood of the sin offering with his finger and put it on the horns of the altar of the burnt offering and pour out the rest of the blood at the base of the altar. He shall burn all the fat on the altar as he burned the fat of the fellowship offering. In this way, the priest will make atonement for the leader's sin and he will be forgiven. Any questions up to there? If you're new to this channel, subscribe, comment, tell me where you're watching me from. I'll be very happy if we continue reading the word. We are in the hardest part in the book of Leviticus. It's a very hard read. It's not, it's not the, even when you read the flow, it's very difficult. It's not like other books. When you read Leviticus, Deuteronomy, okay, the Bible becomes simple here at the book of Numbers. At least that's a very simple, clear read. But Leviticus is a very, very difficult book. I will not lie to you, but I hope that we'll have the energy and we'll have the grace to finish reading. I know, don't be bored. You see, that is where now the differences come in, because I realized that people start the year, they say, oh, I'm going to do this, but just after the first week you become bored, and that is where there's victory or there is defeat. Are we together? Then when you become bored, that is where some people either gain advantage, and that is where there's a gap. That's where the gap starts. Some people ask, and where does the gap come in? You'll be very surprised for me to tell you a secret. The gap usually starts showing the moment you become bored. The moment you become bored and somebody else becomes consistent, then that is where the gap starts showing. Are we together? Yes, because now this person remained in the same gear, because he engaged the same gear, but you only said 2026 is my year, and as when you went to bed, but it needs some consistency so that you can be able to make whatever you want to become true. Because a dream is only a dream on paper. Or maybe that's why you say, oh, you're a leader, you gave false promises. But it's not false promises, it's just that people become bored. Are we together? Yes. You also have to put that thing into perspective. I remember, I can tell you so many stories of how we started projects, but along the way, people become bored. Say, you don't have the patience to wait until that particular thing, for it to be actualized. But most people, say, that's a long time. I cannot wait that long. Maybe that is where now the difference usually comes in. Any questions up to there? If you're new to this channel, subscribe, comment, tell me where you're watching me from. Any questions up to there? I hope that we'll be streaming non-stop in this book of Leviticus. I wouldn't want us to go. I want us to finish reading the book of Leviticus, and I hope that we'll have what it takes to read. Any questions up to there? If you're new to this channel, subscribe and comment, and tell me where you're watching me from. If you're new to this channel, welcome. I'm very happy that you are part of this channel. If you're new to this channel, please be part of this channel. Any questions up to there? Any questions up to there? Any questions up to there? Any questions? If you're new, subscribe and comment. Let's continue reading. If a member of the community sins unintentionally and does what is forbidden in any of the Lord's commands, when they realize their guilt and their sin they have committed becomes known, they must bring as their offering for the sin they have committed a female goat without defect. They are to lay their hand on the head of the sin offering and slaughter it at the place of the burnt offering. Then the priest is to take some of the blood with his finger and put it on the horns of the altar of burnt offering and pour out the rest of the blood at the base of the altar. Any questions up to there? We'll continue reading. I want to put some things here. Any questions? If you're new to this channel, subscribe, comment, and tell me where you're watching me from. Any questions up to there? Let's continue reading. I wouldn't want us to stop. I want us to read and master the scripture. It would be amazing if we master the scripture. In fact, somebody was asking me, what is my goal of 2026? I said, if only I had mastered the scripture, if only I mastered the scripture, I would be a very happy person. That is my goal for 2026. And I hope that God will enable me and will strengthen me and give me the energy and the morale to be able to read, and not only read but also master the scripture. Any questions up to there? Sometimes I must confess that some of these dreams that we have, I came to realize that most of them are pipe dreams. And I'm not saying in a bad way, but I came to realize that some of these things you think it's easy, but it's not. It might be. That's why I always tell people, when you're planning on your project, don't plan thinking about the big stage. Always think about the small person on the ground. All right. Always think small. It's always. I know some people are saying, "Oh, I want you to think big," but always, sometimes think small. Not think big, think small. Because in reality, for example, when you tell people, I want everybody to give me 500 every day, you'll come to realize that not everybody has that kind of capacity. Are we together? You can say maybe one or two people or three people, maybe they have that capacity, but not everybody. So when you say that everybody has that kind of capacity, it would be unfair. It would be very unfair to the rest. So I always tell people, don't think big, think small. Think small. Because when you say, I want you guys to give every day to be giving me, maybe you have a project of building a church, say, I want you guys to give me some money. Every day I want 500. You only get one or two people. You get one or two people. But that does not mean that others are not useful. Are we together? Because everywhere you go, you'll find some people can give a lot, others they don't have the capacity. So when you say that you people are not givers, it would be unfair to others. Are we together? So let us understand the circumstances of others. Let us understand the capacity of others. The capacity. What can they do? What do they? Is it possible for them to do this? Who can do this? All right. Who has the energy or something like that to do this? Are we together? Who has the the brains to do this. So when you think about that, you realize that not everybody has the same resources. Are we together? So please, when you're making your plans, always think about the people on the low tier, because you know, when you say, oh, I want you guys to give me this amount of money, and people don't have money, you know. That's why I always tell people that when God has blessed you, you need to understand that you become a person of interest. Are we together? Any questions up to there? Let's start another stream. We just want it to be for 1 hour only, not exactly 1 hour, because I also want people to have a break. Any questions up to there? Any questions up to there? All right.